Pete, very Boston tonight. Boom! Happy Thursday, everyone. A little later than usual tonight. Teeing things off at 9:36. We're about to roll into halftime of a somewhat high-scoring Thursday night game. DeAndre Hopkins is back. We're back, feeling good. This is Mike, my numero uno. Pedro, very, very Boston-centric tonight.
Yeah. No, Hopkins looks good in all black.
I love
stuff I have down in my basement to keep warm. So
I love the black helmets. I love the black helmets.
Cool.
It's sleek.
I like the uniforms.
Speaking of sleek, property of wine. Case, what's going on, buddy?
The Piper's back, baby. Piper's back. Technology's caught up with me.
Can you describe what the multiple blue outfits on? Give us the blue rundown.
Western New England, where Chris played baseball.
Yep.
And then Wildcats baseball, Johnson, Wales.
And how did the sibling bowl go this weekend?
We lost twice, so the losing continues. But we played everybody. There's some guys that I won't put that on the pod. We lost both games.
Speaking of guys who you shouldn't have played, Steve. Happy Thursday.
Now, are we gonna have to copyright because Case your A&E is showing in the bottom?
You can't see it, Steve. You can't see it. You can only see two bars.
I agree.
You don't know what that is, Steve.
Steve, how are we? How was your Thursday today, Steve?
Great, man. Great. Good to be here.
So, Steve, kick us off. We were supposed to do a little segue, but we didn't realize there was a massive trade that was going to take place. Trades. There was more than one trade?
Yeah, Pete and Case made one this week.
Oh, all right. Well, let's do that one first then. Pete and Case.
You've been really out of touch.
No idea what happened.
Yeah, talk about whatever you want.
He's worried about the vending machines right now.
No, I'm not.
When the hosts don't listen.
Another touchdown? I think my game's behind. What's the score in your game, Steve?
20-14.
Oh. Not anymore.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
There's another pick six.
That happened fast. So
Andy Dalton.
Pete, Case, big trade this week. A lot of hoopla from the league, a lot of excitement about it. So, Pete, I'll start with you. Give us a rundown. What was the trade?
Is this the hoopla that you don't know about?
What was the trade? And tell us what happened.
I gave up Jefferson and Dobbs, and I got back Eckler, McLaurin, and Mooney.
Wait, that was a massive trade.
Yeah.
Mike, you really
nobody talked
You're the
about
only
it.
one
Nobody
that doesn't
talked
know
about
about it. Yeah, you're the only one that doesn't know about it.
Were there picks?
No.
No.
Nobody talked about it because it just happened through the app or through the website because there was no picks to report on the.
So I know
chain.
Pete. I know Pete was involved and interested in doing a blockbuster deal because I got the similar trade, and then I didn't realize he was actually going to make a trade. Never doubt you, Pete. Sorry about that. My apologies.
When Pete starts talking, something is coming down.
Something's coming. So, Pete, you texted me. I'm guessing you texted Case. What was the idea behind wanting to make a trade?
Boredom. I had Now, I wanted to acquire a pass-catching running back. I feel like my team is a little bit too risky, and what might have worked last year isn't necessarily going to work this year. So I've been kind of in the market for somebody that's a little bit more stable. I went with Ezekiel Elliott, but that turned out to be a disaster. I tried to get Michael Thomas, but now he's hurt. So I'm taking a larger stance to get somebody that's more reliable. So I took an aim at McCaffrey, Saquon, and Eckler. And Spates made it very clear he does not want to trade Christian McCaffrey. Kaleli, I text messaged you if you would like to do something, and you wrote, nah. And that left.
I remember that.
Left the one and only Brian Casey, a deal that came together rather quickly, and that's how it went down.
So, Case, you got the text from Pete. He wants to make a blockbuster deal. You're always down to trade. Take me through what transpired, what made you throw Eckler on the table, and talk to me about the Scotch a little bit.
I didn't put anything on the table. Pete came to me with the offer.
I drove it.
So Pete and I started talking trades last week. It was a very small trade that just didn't work out. He overestimates my love affection for Hunter Renfrow a little bit. But then he said, hey, I got a deal for you. I'm giving it to everybody, which apparently now is only 3 people, not everybody. So I got to remember next time.
It's the 3
for leverage.
Three
Uh,
pass catchers.
He gave his
But-
priority. He gave his priority.
But he gave me the three players that he targeted. Those stayed the same. We were able to work the Duber into the trade on my end just to give me another youthful receiver. But obviously, I jumped to get Jefferson back on the squad from a couple years ago when I drafted him. So I was happy to do it.
So Pete, I think you said you think this gives you a higher floor and likely more optionality. Do you think that's a fair assessment of what you were trying to do?
Is
Yeah.
optionality a word?
Optionality.
Optionality? Of course, optionality is a word.
First time.
Pull up the dictionary.
Well, I like Terry McLaurin. So having him back on my team is actually that is one of the major selling points of the deal. I was really excited about. Mooney was a part of the smaller deal with Casey that I was trying to get earlier in the week. I just like his style. He goes deep and he's on a bad team. So that's my kind of guy. But when that didn't happen, I just attached it to the bigger trade. Eckler's just like awesome. He touches the ball a lot. And I saw a video of him doing one-armed pull-ups. And I was like, I got to have that guy on my team. As soon as we did the trade, I started Googling Austin Eckler without a shirt on. And that was pretty much the rest of my night.
And you haven't left the basement since. Well, I like the trade. I'm be curious when we get to.
Bottle of cream and some tissues.
Steve, it's subtlety, dude. It's called subtlety, Steve.
What? He's got dry hands and he's got a runny nose. It's the winter.
I'll be curious when we get to the games who within that trade is in everyone's starting
See?
lineup. Which, and
Told ya.
I appreciate the action. Pete, sorry I didn't text you back. I really know you're interested in Saquon Barkley, but my bad. Didn't mean to. So, Steve, another trade that transpired today.
I believe you said something about a poo-poo platter to me.
Well, I don't want a poop platter trade. That's like my only thing I don't want.
You never know what the offers are, Mike. The offers have changed over the last couple of years.
They've changed, but they've stayed the same. So, Steve, speaking of changing and staying the same, Case getting into you about tanking, even though you traded picks. So, I want you to do what I just asked these guys to do. Summarize the trade. What did you get? What did you give up? And then I want to hear how it went down.
Sure. I got Burrow, Debo,
Joe?
Joe Burrow. You want the full names?
No, just making sure it's Joe. Hey, Steve, question.
Yeah.
If you were a burrowing mammal, what mammal do you think you'd prefer to be that burrows? I think there's an easy answer.
Good question.
Can a human count?
Oh.
Nope.
I can borrow right now in my front yard.
I don't know, man. I don't
It's a
know.
prairie dog. It's a prairie dog. Sorry. So you got Burrow.
I got Burrow, Samuel, and Rondale Moore.
Okay.
I traded Godwin, Metcalf,
Deontay
Johnson and picks.
Tell me how many picks? did you have?
Several.
Wow, a lot
3
of
picks.
Wow, Steve. Okay, so who? Again, I don't know these trades. I saw texts. I usually call Pete. That's okay. Feels like you gave up a lot, but that's okay. Not the point.
Yeah.
What happened? Like, how did it start? Who initiated?
I've been hounding Innis for Debo Samuel now for probably about 3 weeks.
So Debo was your go-getter. You wanted
Debo was my go-getter.
Advice.
So Debo was my go-getter, and the state of my quarterback position has been horrific all year long. And after hearing some comments from Brady this week and seeing how their offense has been, how they want to run the ball more.
Brady's comments tonight. I'm back in on Brady. Sorry.
Okay. I love the idea of getting well, first of all, to get Samuel, I had to give up Godwin.
Yep.
And with Brady being as old as he was, I was okay with getting rid of Godwin for here and now, considering Godwin's coming off of that knee injury and hasn't looked that great.
Hey, here and now. Is Luther Vandross? Does he sing here and now? I love Luther Vandross.
Yes.
Sorry. Thanks.
I agree with you on that reasoning, though, Steve. That's why I originally traded Godwin and Brady off my team. I think we're all in agreement Brady's not going to play next year. And I think Godwin without Brady is going to be terrible. And he might not even be on the Bucs. He might.
Well, the problem with the Bucs right now is they cannot protect Brady at all. They have 0 offensive linemen. He has no time to throw the ball. So and they can't run the ball.
But
so they're just attacking.
Let's go back to the trade. So it feels like the infrastructure.
I'm still on the trade.
Yeah, talk to me about the picks.
I don't care about the picks. I don't care about the picks. The idea for me with the picks, if I'm giving up my first this year and my second round this year, I already have Casey's second round this year. So I hold on to Casey's second
his team
round.
that's essentially like a first round pick.
Sure, it's a high first round high second round, low first round
Low
pick,
first
whatever
round,
the case may be.
absolutely, yeah.
So for me to get rid of my first round pick to keep Cases, I don't really care. And my second round pick is irrelevant. Next year is next year. Who cares about next year's first round pick?
I'm going to call Casey Shrapnel from now on. So I'd love to hear, Steve, who do you think won the DeLuca case? I feel like we're going to have another good night tonight, buddy, just so we're clear.
I'll tell you the one last thing, Case.
Can I have clarification? Can I have clarification? How can a second round pick be a late first round pick? It's a second round pick. There are no compensation picks in our draft.
I know what he means. I know what you mean, Steve. Don't listen to him.
He just has to pick one thing out and go after it.
Steve,
That's okay.
who won the
It's the winning
trade
argument.
between DeLuca and Casey?
I understand why Pete did it. I love Austin Eckler too, but I
he
love
thinks
Justin Jefferson.
He thinks Case won the trade. I can tell by the way he said that.
I just think of when you look at the trades, I always think of like who's the best player in the trade.
Yeah.
And I think Justin Jefferson was the best player in that deal, but I completely understand why Pete did it. You got to give up something to get something. I understand that.
And Pete, do you think DeVito won his trade, or do you think Ennis won his trade? Do you think DeVito gave up too much?
Do you?
Well, initially I thought that was a very bad trade, but I was looking forward to hearing what his what his explanation was. The way that he thinks about the picks makes sense. He doesn't really care about a second pick. The first round pick doesn't matter to him, and he gave Ennis back his pick next year, so it wasn't even really his pick to begin with. So if you remove the picks from it, which I know we can't, but I see the rationale a little bit.
The other problem that I had with the guys that I had, they were way too volatile. DK was just playing with Geno Smith. You have no idea what you're going to get from him in a week to week. Debo's always involved either running the ball or receiving the ball in that offense. It runs through him. Rondale Moore and Deontay Johnson to me are kind of a wash, especially the way that Deontay's been this year. And I wanted to get a quarterback back, and I also have a stack now with Higgins and Burrow. So that was my other reason for getting Burrow back.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
Hear both sides out.
I like the stack attack, Steve. So, hey, if nothing else,
listen, I think it was a good deal for Ennis, but I just like the idea of getting Debo because now that puts my top four guys. I'm okay with going to war with those four guys. And that's what I had said to Ennis.
Steve, I love the justification, Steve. Don't listen to Brian. He doesn't know what he's talking about. His team's in 9th place. What's that guy want? Right, Steve? Shrapnel. Hey, nothing else. You guys know me. The action to me keeps the league going. I think the other interesting takeaways that I'll be curious if this is true coming up. Takeaway number 1, Pete's going to be active, so no surprise there. Takeaway number 2, DeVito is clearly active in trying to build the top of his roster. Interesting takeaway 3 and 4 to me. Spate's not looking to trade McCaffrey. The guy he very rarely makes trades, but does that mean he's still leaning into the season? And is Ennis, from an accumulation standpoint, deciding to move towards a future rebuild or at least reshuffling of his assets? Curious to see what happens. A lot of time between now and then, but that's how I like to look at these sort of things, is what does it mean as it takes the macro sense of the league.
Hey, Mike, did you see Kyler go at it with Kingsbury in that first half?
Yeah, Kyler and Kingsbury are awful. I don't like having them. I hate that this game is on TV right now. Yeah, I saw it, Steve.
Curious as what that was. I mean, they called a timeout and they ran the exact same play. What does he take so
I don't know. I don't comment on real football. Let's get into
Steve.
week 7, guys.
Steve.
Yeah, Brian.
Steve, did you try to get Rondale
Brian
to go against Kaleli's
Brian.
quarterback this week, or was that someone you wanted outright?
Good idea, Case. When I was making the trade this week to fill,
I appreciate the sarcasm. Can you just answer the freaking question?
I did.
Kept it
I
PG.
I think this is a boring rat-tat-tat. You should have let me take the segue to Pete. And Pete, let's preview
Thanks, Mike.
week
Go.
7. You're welcome.
Don't you ever preempt me again, Casey.
Pete, we're in week 7. Shall we get after it?
Steve. All right. Number 1 game, DeVita, number 1 seed against the number 3 seed
Here
Bream.
we go. Big game.
Green
Lloyd,
is-
hold on. This is a Lloyd Super Bowl preview, Pete.
Oh, okay. Did he say this? Yeah, he did say that.
He did.
Oh, yeah, he hates my team.
He hates your team. I don't even think he likes you. That's what I took away from that. He likes Darian way more than you.
He's got a good track record. So
That's a low blow.
He said it. He said he liked Darian more than DeLuca. I don't make it up.
I have more wins than both their teams.
Combine.
Yep.
Combine.
Breen is 5-3 against Andy in the last 5 years, although Andy won their last matchup 120-94. The two teams played last year in week 7, which is just an odd coincidence, actually. It was Andy's second win of the year. He went on to lose 7 out of his next 8 games. So the DeVita window closed rapidly last year. This will be Andy's biggest test. His opponents are averaging 107 points against him, but Breen comes in second in the league in scoring at 152. So I'm going to make a pick. At first glance, I liked Breen, and I was like, this is no contest here. But the more I look at it, the more I think it's going to go Andy's way. What's the matter? You sneezing over there?
No, I made a drink upstairs. I didn't realize how much tequila I put in this thing. Ooh, baby, that's
What is it, your
Might
first?
need a new host before this is over.
Yeah, he's going to pass out. So that was like the first time I ever drank whiskey. I was like,
What was it? It tasted good. I just didn't expect it. Sorry.
I ever tell you when I went to grad school, I moved in with a guy, and he was like the dorkiest guy ever. And I was like, hey, to celebrate, let's do a shot. And he was like, okay. So we take out the shot. We take out a bottle of Jack Daniels. We do a shot, and I take it and I go, and he like goes, whoop. He goes, that's pretty good. I was like,
Kind of reminded me of Ben Stiller and Zoolander right there.
I could
Black
not,
lung.
I could not take it. I'm a whip. All right.
What's that guy doing now, Pete? What's he doing? Is he listening to this pod right now?
I think he works for the CIA.
Thanks, Derek.
So we got Henry off a bye at home, and that's going to give Andy the lead. I looked at a lot of like the way the game flow is going to go this week with the matchups. We're going to have Henry off a bye at home at 1 p.m. And if he's leading after that, he has Mahomes, Kelsey, Hall, and Jacobs at 4. So Breen's going to have Waddle late night and Stevenson on Monday, but I think Andy's going to be up by too far. So I'm going to pick Andy to go to 7-0.
Wow, love the pick. Case, I'm going to go to you second. I know I usually go to DeVito second, but I want to bring up an interesting question to you because you're a big matchup-based guy. To me, there's 2 super important games in this matchup. The first one is because DeVita doesn't have Diggs and Breen doesn't have Allen. Big shift. Huge game for DeVita. Chiefs at the Niners. Can the Niners defense rebound from a tough game next week? I think that's an interesting question to ask. And then on the Breen side, to me, the big guy is his Monday night with Stevenson. And so does that matchup get what we think is going to be a Patriots blowout? Talk to me about what you think those key matchups are in this game and who your pick is to win.
Sure. I do think that the Kansas City stack this week for DeVita is going to be one that pays off big. I don't think San Fran is going to be able to slow them down. I think they got slowed down enough last week by Buffalo that I think they'll bounce back this week. In terms of the Stevenson on Monday, I think that it's going to be similar to this past week where if the Pats are up big, they're going to start to play some of those younger backs and preserve Stevenson later in the game, because I do think they're going to be up because Chicago is absolutely terrible. I also like DeVita this week. I think that if Breen had Allen in there, even with the Diggs stack, I still think that he needs him to be more competitive in this one. I think DeVita's top-end guys are too much, and he's still got Alex Pierce in there. So I can't pick a guy that's playing Alex Pierce. So I'm going to take DeVita as well.
Hey, Steve, we're getting into November almost, buddy. We must have some weather updates. Any weather impacting this game? A couple cues on the board, and I think both those guys are playing. So can we lean into our weather lane yet?
I'm just to go back to one thing, Keith, you said that Kelsey and Mahomes were slowed down last week.
No,
Kelsey was 8 for 1.
No, he didn't.
I said the scoring in that game was 24-20 or whatever. I said the game was low scoring, whatever everyone thought it was.
I'm sorry, I thought you said they were. Because I was going to say Kelsey and Mahomes still had great games last week.
Pete, should we just do you and I tonight? These guys are they're arguing.
I was just asking a clarifying question. That's all. I'm not going at him.
Steve,
you're not allowed to ask me any clarifying questions because I didn't get to ask you any clarifying questions.
Steve, that was not a clarifying question.
It
was
Objection.
I was all right.
Talk
Irrelevant.
about the weather. Just talk about the weather.
I don't think there's going to be a lot this week. Actually, the East Coast looks pretty nice on Sunday.
Hey, did we
Till
get
Sunday
snow?
night.
Did the Midwest get snow this week? I saw.
Yeah, they got snow in like Chicago, right?
I saw that. All right, Steve, go ahead. Talk
Up in
about
Green
weather.
Bay, northern northern Wisconsin got like 2 feet.
Oh,
Lake effect.
never.
thank
What do you
you.
think? Steve, what's your favorite season?
Oh, the summer. Not even
Summer,
close.
baby.
Not even close.
I hate the winter.
Sure,
Nah,
sure.
boy. Nah, boy.
I work in education.
Right,
What do you
the
think is
summer's
my
the best
favorite
for you.
season?
Right. You barely work 3 seasons of the year. You really don't work the 4th season of the year. Sorry,
Summer's
Steve, go
the
ahead.
Summer's
Make
the
your
best.
I kind of agree here. I think Andy's going to have too much firepower. I don't love a lot of Kevin's matchups this week too. Stevenson, the problem with Stevenson this week, my problem with Stevenson is that Damian Harris is practicing in full. So even though Stevenson is probably the lead back there, Harris is probably going to end up with 8 to 10 carries that'll take away from Stevenson, and I wouldn't be shocked at all, my go-to line,
Ding.
if in a blowout they sit Stevenson and let Harris get some running or Pierce Strong. So I have DeVita.
Clean sweep for me. Clean sweep for me here, guys. I don't think we're going to see a boom out of this game. I think Allen is the straw that stirs Breen's drink. The Stevenson Harris thing I saw as well. A couple other matchups on Breen's side I don't love. I think DeVita's team is locked in, and I think we're ready for a showdown next week of the Cousins. And I really want the 1 and 2 seeds, so I'll take DeVita because I like some good league momentum. Speaking of momentum, Divitto, huge trade this week. Does he keep that momentum heading into the battle of the 4 and the 5 seed? Divitto against Kaleli. Bungles take on the chosen ones. Let's hear it, Pete.
Casey, I had I'm having DeVita as my boom, by the way. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Oh, Pete.
Got it.
Yeah, sorry.
Pete.
I know when you just said it, I was like, wait, didn't I? Oh no, sorry, but yeah, DeVita's my boom. All right, Divitto and Kaleli, the 4 seed versus the 5 seed. Steve and Mike are 3-3 in the last 5 years. You guys actually don't play each other very often, pretty much once a year, although you guys did play twice last year and split. Don't let the standings fool you. Kaleli is 3rd in the league in scoring and averages nearly 10 points more than Steve per game. This is another one that I think the team winning at 4 p.m. will be in the driver's seat. So I can see Steve having a minor lead. Then it becomes, well, Metcalf and Kittle. I guess that's all over. Can I rewrite this? I'm going to pick Mike because the trade kind of messed me all up there, and I don't really know who's left on his team. So I'm going to pick Mike and make him my upset of the week.
I wrote this too early. Steve, I've got 2 Qs sitting on my board. Your team is, for the first time this year, pretty healthy. You have disposed of the QAnon conspiracies that were tampering your locker room.
Oh, come on.
I think Barkley and Swift are healthy. Do you agree with that? And who's your pick in the battle of B&J Electric in the Milford Police Department?
Barkley is fine. Dayball said that he's just they're managing his reps. Swift, I guess, is a little more concerning coming off that injury. But I mean, you can't sit him if he's active, especially in this type of game, because chances are they get behind and he's going to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. So I was nervous coming into tonight. Obviously, your stack here hasn't exactly been dominating, which I was a little afraid of, thinking how you would be ahead. If I can find a way, our score right now is 18-13. If I can find a way to be tight after this one here with my 2 guys, could be different. But I still have you winning this week. This is a week that I didn't assume with, Cup and Brown being out this week that I'd be able to do a lot of damage. So I have you this week, Mike.
So, Case, DeVito's 2 best players were on a bye. He brought Devo in, which will certainly give him firepower. I came off my bye-mageddon last week and somehow beat Innis with my JV team. Do you see it similarly to Steve? And who's your pick?
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing that the trade did for Steve, I think it sort of thinned out, and he doesn't have his top 2 guys in this week. So this is sort of, he's dealing with this week what you had last week in some way. You're back to fully loaded, Mike. You're my boom this week.
Ooh.
And you're my upset this week.
Ooh.
So double dipping on the chosen ones.
I'll take myself, like my team, like that I had to buy last week. I guess that means I'll take myself as the upset. Not much of analysis for me. I don't like playing DeVito. I always feel like DeVito beats me.
Yeah, you don't do it
Well,
often.
we split last year.
I know, but it feels like we hadn't split before that. Speaking of split, 2 guys who split long before they should have. DeLuca to Darian, game number 3. Really need to get those guys back together on the pod to redeem the split. Let's call this the Banana Bowl. DeLuca, the 2nd seed, taking on to Darian 2 versus 8. Pete, give us the preview.
Christian is 5-4 against me in the last 5 years, but I swept him last year in our 2 games. For this matchup, right now it's 9-0, right? I think he's got whatever. You are looking at the only time Christian will have the lead in this matchup because I have no one playing. So Christian's going to have some guys going on Sunday night, but I think he's going to be down by over 100. So I will call it right now. I'm going to make a pick. We don't have to spend too much time here. I'm going to pick myself and make it the lock. I think I'm going to beat him by 100.
Whoa. I have not heard that sort of bombasticness in a long time. Interestingly enough, Pete, I did a little research today, and there's two guys who are currently locked into your roster who have not practiced this week. So, Steve, I really think I need your analysis on what is going on with this Mark Andrews. Does the sideways stack for DeLuca end up playing? And Hunter Ren doesn't seem like he's playing either. So, Steve, what's going to happen with Pete's roster, and who do you think he's going to plug in, Brian? That's the question I'll ask to you if those guys don't play. Steve, go ahead.
Pete, I'd like to go to the hometown for this one with Andrews. What are they saying there? Because everything I've read, he has not practiced, but they're calling it just rest.
Yeah.
Is that what they're saying?
They gave the entire team like the day of Wednesday off. Like, so like every good Ravens player had the day off. So when they said, like, everyone's sitting, today was alarming because Andrews was the only one that continued to sit. So tomorrow will be interesting. If he practices on Friday, I think, everything's fine. Even if he gets unlimited, I'd be fine. But if he doesn't, I would start making plans and probably have to shift to Mooney.
So Lockett's hamstring is back to back. Did not practice, but he did something similar last week.
Yeah.
He didn't practice earlier in the week, had a limited Friday, and then he ended up playing.
Yep.
Renfro is the interesting one to me because he just popped up today with a hip injury coming off of a bye. That's a little
It's very unfortunate.
Sketchy to say the least. Yeah.
You just click the blue thing, like when I tee you up?
Huh?
I just clicked the blue thing. It says right there, Tyler Lockett hasn't had back-to-back practices. Is this a scam?
I'm sorry, what is the scam?
Where do you think he's been getting his news? He just reads.
Well, I was like DeVito's. I thought he was like Stefania Bell. And I'm like, Steve, I'm going to you. And
I am.
I clicked the Tyler Lockett thing, and it says right here, the back-to-back DNPs are an eyebrow raiser. I think that's what DeVito just said.
Jesus, I think
No,
that might be copyright
I said
infringement.
that's a problem. But it is.
My whole life is a scam.
Check the tape.
Mike, this is like Mr. Perry wondering how in what class was that? Economics, how we all did so well on that test.
All right, so Steve, Pete has 3 legit cues. Give me your breakdown. How many guys play? How many guys don't play?
The only one I'd be concerned about is Renfro. I think the other two are playing.
All right, who's your pick in this game? Let's assume Renfro's out. Renfro's in. You got to pick either way.
Pete, he's my lock.
Whoa, Duracell, lock of the week. Thanks.
My boy.
Case, let's assume in
That's
this.
18 out of 19.
For those counting at home.
Case, let's assume.
And I almost had that other one, except they decided to bench Melvin Gordon.
Case, let's assume all 3 of those guys are out. And how do you think Pete tiers who he puts in off of his bench with his cues on the board?
If all 3 are out, it's Mooney, maybe Woods, and then he's going to go to the waiver wire, drop one of those quarterbacks or 2 quarterbacks he picked up to keep Christian from getting this week.
And do you, the past owner of Mooney, do you think the past owner of Mooney, if it's one guy out, Mooney's the right plug and play this week against the Pats?
Yeah, the one thing that has happened in the last couple of weeks with me is they haven't taken more chances with him to throw. So he is getting more looks. I mean, he had that goal line play the other night that he didn't secure. So he's getting more looks at least.
Pete?
I'm not going to make a free agent move. I don't know if you heard me the first time. I'm going to beat this kid by 100 points. I don't know if I need to make any moves after that. Like, does it matter? I might just keep Renfro in there with one leg. You could beat Christian.
Pete?
Yes.
Can I offer you Marquez Valdez-Scantling?
No, thank you.
It's a good segue to my pick this week. Last week, I picked Pete because he was highly motivated, hyper motivated, over motivated. This week, you don't pick against an overconfident Pete DeLuca, especially when you're playing his arch nemesis. I'm taking Pete, and he's my lock.
So, guys,
Eckler's going huge this week, Pete.
Locked up on this one.
Just give me one. I just want to know, and I'm going to have it go 1, 2, 3. You cannot repeat the answer to the question. I'll go Pete. I'll go Steve. I'll go Brian. Is there one guy on Darian's team that you think could swing this game and give Christian potentially an upside play where he could challenge DeLuca. And I'm gonna let Pete go first because I think Pete's answer is nobody. So I'll force him with a full roster for Darian's team. Pete, if there's one guy you think could go off into Darian's team, is there one guy you worry about more than others?
Yeah, ETN. He's actually starting to get more run. I think that they could focus in on him. I could say that I could see that my luck being poorly and him getting like 3 touchdowns.
And Steve, same question to you.
Hawkinson. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot at Dallas.
Case, last question.
No.
The only way to me this game is close is if Claypool goes off on Sunday night and he decides to bench Montgomery. Montgomery's not going to be a guy to me. I'll take Pete. He's not a lock. He's not going to boom for me. But I'll take Pete this week just because I want to give it clean sweep. Is that our third? Do we have 3 clean sweeps, guys?
Sweep it.
No. Yep.
Yeah, we do.
You guys
All right,
can't agree on anything.
Hopefully we get some upsets here, but we'll start. What do we got? So 9 + 7, 6 + 10. Let's go Spates and Lloyd game 4 of the week. 4th game of the week. I think this is technically the tallest game of the week and the tallest game of the season because these are the 2 tallest guys in the league. So will the Orchids of Asia continue their ascension and win back-to-back games, or will Spates continue his march towards getting back to relevancy and not wanting to trade Christian McCaffrey? Pete, give us a preview. Lloyd versus Spates.
CJ is 4-1 against Larkin in the last 5 years. These are another 2 teams that do not see each other often. So they've played each other 5 times in the last 5 years. That's once a year. Despite the 4-1 mark against the franchise, Spates is 0-1 against Lloyd. That loss came last year in Lloyd's rookie season. So CJ has never beat Dan Larkin. It is well reported that CJ has faced the hardest schedule through 6 games. And even with Lloyd's boom last week, Spates would have outscored Lloyd's team by 34 points a game over the last 3 weeks. So even with the boom, Spates is still outscoring him. Let's see, where was I? And he's had some big wins there. So I'll make a pick. I think it's going to be an early lead from Spates starting tonight. I think he's going to hold on to that. I would not be shocked if Lloyd wins, but I did take a close look at CJ's roster, and I learned 2 things. I learned 1, he definitely not wants to trade Christian McCaffrey. Absolutely not. And 2, he is not dead. I don't know what his opinion is of his team, but he has 3 winnable games coming up. His schedule is obviously going to get easier. So I think a CJ rebound starts this week.
Do you feel bad that you've gone against your own bombastic opinion?
My own what?
Bombastic opinion.
Of who?
You said Lloyd was going to win 3 games in a row last week.
I did. I took a step back from that because I took a real close look at CJ's roster this week, and I think that he's actually a lot better than what it shows. I think that he's going to do well. I think he's going to come back.
The only person who can second guess Pete DeLuca is Pete DeLuca.
There you go.
Tough game for you, Steve. There's some very minimal Qs on the board.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bateman is the only real questionable asset. Chase is going to play my case. But
There's no blue notes to click.
No, there's one.
I think the only questionable asset on the board is Bateman, and the weather's going to be beautiful. I don't know what you have to talk about, but let's hear it.
I actually think there's one part for CJ that I would flip-flop here. There's one game of weather this week. That's Denver and the Jets.
Whoa.
It's going to be pretty windy in Denver.
Ooh.
With Gordon having a talk with his coach now that he's going to start, could you guys not see Gordon getting 20 carries this week?
What happened? Did he just say
He just benched him
now and I'm healthy? And they're like,
He's-
oh, okay.
They
he's
just
fumbled.
decided.
I wouldn't be
He
surprised.
fumbles all the time.
They just decided to go in another direction the other night.
I
But
wouldn't.
now Gordon, they had a conversation, and Gordon was named the starter.
So you think Spates should sub out Judy for Gordon based off the wind report?
If I was playing a Denver player, I would rather Gordon over Judy, just because
Doesn't he have
the
both
fact
of
that
them
it's
though?
gonna,
He has both of them. So if you are
Yeah.
Spates and he's listening and wants your advice, you would
which
say
he doesn't.
He doesn't.
so you'd say bench Judy, play Gordon.
If you're deciding between the 2 of them, yes,
Are you picking
I
Spates?
might look at Samuel instead, because
I don't
Pete,
know.
your favorite quarterback's playing now.
Can you really, because if you play Melvin Gordon and he doesn't get a carry and you end your season, he's going to be 2-5 after that.
Yeah.
You can't play Melvin Gordon, right? Like that's but
I
then-
wouldn't play. I'm just saying I wouldn't play Jerry Judy, considering the way that Russell Wilson's played, and there's going to be winds that high in Denver with rain.
This is a must-win for Spates. Not only the opponent, but if he loses this record-wise, he's done.
But
Yeah.
do you think that last roster spot is going to make a massive difference for him?
Every roster spot makes a difference, Steve.
Don't underestimate Dan.
I don't think in this.
So
I just
your
don't
pick,
think
it feels like your pick is CJ.
That is correct.
So, Case, last week you got your season essentially upended by Lloyd showing up for the first time in 2 years. Are you talking to yourself? I think Case
No,
is
he's talking to
himself.
Cat. By the way, anyone notice that Rodgers and McCaffrey have the exact same projections this week?
I just did when you said that.
I have a
I think.
thing up. They can't see
Wait.
anything back there.
He's talking. They're parenting.
No, my wife just got home.
Oh, okay. You need a minute?
How was her?
No,
How was her day? What was the
I
guy's
told her-
name? What was the guy's name she was with? Case?
I told her that she's trying to work back here. It's like I have a background thing up so they can't see you. She's like, turn your
Oh.
screen. Turn your
Don't worry,
screen.
sweetie. I have Roddy Piper up behind me.
Wait, Case, speak it out loud. Let's hear about your disappointment from last week's game, but talk about it in real detail, and then give us your pick for this one.
She already
Kyler
knows.
Murray stinks.
Shut up, Steve.
You just get hurt, Mike?
I don't know. I'm not watching the game. I can't look right. You guys yell at me when I can't hear anything.
He's limping.
Case, who's your pick?
Spades.
I'm gonna do the same thing we just did because we're about to clean sweep it again. Space is gonna be my boom for the week.
Whoa.
Who? I can't quit it. I want Spates on the pod next week. I want Spates to boom. I want to talk to Spates. I want to see his face. I want to get a good recipe. Pete, who in this game, if you are Lloyd, is the guy you think could swing it and become a real key contributor to swing another upset?
What are we looking at? Really going to swing an upset? Kenneth Walker was a big surprise. He got a
Good
ton
one.
of carries and a ton of play.
Good one. Good one.
That ends up being a really good one. Ayuk struggled as well, and with an easy matchup against Kansas City, if that pops too, that could work out. I could see a couple touchdowns happening there that, especially like Bateman could get a long one. I could see it happen.
Steve, anything to add?
Ayuk went for
Bateman.
2 touchdowns last week, Pete.
Did he? Oh, I didn't. I might
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Case, before we get your view on Lloyd's roster, let's remember this next segment is sponsored by Hefty. Hefty, the world's most reliable garbage bags. As our 10th member of this league, Brian Casey, who is your Hefty's dumpster dive of the week and the player on Lloyd's bench who will go off in week 7?
It's actually the one thing I got right last week. I picked the right guy. I picked Pitts
Nice.
last week.
There you go, Case.
This week, I'm going Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson, this week's Hefty dumpster dive of the week. Come on, Lloyd, go back to back for us. Last game of the week, I think this is a fun one. A great 5th game of the week. 2 guys who made trades this week that are taking their teams in different directions. Casey has obliterated his stack. Innes has added to his stack and war chest of draft picks. Last year's champion, last year's regular season champion, now both scraping to not be at the bottom of the barrel. Pete, give us the preview. Innes versus Casey.
This one is a daddy level one. Casey is 6-0 against Jeff in the last 5 years. Yeah, believe it or not. The last time Casey lost to Jeff, that was 2016. This is another one that dates back to team defenses. Casey was playing Philadelphia. He got 13 points from them. Innes was playing Carolina. He got 0 points from them. Casey, your 13 points from your defense was your top player that week. Congratulations.
Good week.
Yeah.
Nice, Case.
These 2 teams are actually pretty close. They both average around 119 points scored. They both have about the same score over the last 3 weeks. That's 111 points. So it's more of a pickup than you think. It looks like Innes is going to be back at full strength with Lamb and Taylor expected to play. Casey doesn't have Eckler, obviously, and Jefferson on a bye. I think it's going to be a W. And I think it's going to be an L for Casey, a W for Innes. Be on the lookout for a Casey loss and a Lloyd win, because that will be another step towards $100 for Lloyd. And there's going to be a new last place team.
Don't get too
Steve.
excited, Pete.
Keenan Allen, Jonathan Taylor. Key cues in this game. I just clicked Jonathan Taylor's blue thing and
What do you say?
show me he's playing. So you tell me what you want me to talk to me about. I feel like my entire life has been upended in the last 10 minutes.
It only took you this long.
I was going to say, it's a pretty good run. A year plus, Steve.
It's awesome.
Oh,
I think Allen's playing. In case his stack is back.
Ooh, the case stack is back.
And I also have a feeling that the Seattle Chargers game could be extremely high scoring. The Seattle pass defense is not very good. I have Case as my upset this week. I think Case is.
Ooh, Stevie.
I think St. Brown is going to have a nice game at Dallas because, as I've stated already, I think they're going to have to throw the ball, which I think will hurt Prescott and Lamb. They might get a little run early, but they're going to get a big lead, and then it's going to turn to the St. Brown show.
So, Case, an interesting thing that happened with the trade you made with Pete is you acquired most likely the best asset in the deal into a week where, if you listened on Tuesday night, Pete and I walked through the fact that no 1-5 team has ever made the playoffs after starting 1-5. You acquire the best asset. That asset's on a bye. And so this is, if there isn't a must-win game, this is as close as it can be. So how are you feeling about the game, the roster, and who's your pick?
That was a deciding factor in the trade, Mike, was I basically would be saying if I'm going to take Jefferson on a bye this week and trade away my highest scoring player, I'm sort of taking a big risk. And at the time, Innis didn't have 3 extra guys in the starting lineup that he now has. So I actually thought that I had a fighting chance this week until the trade happened with Steve, with him now loading up the bottom half of his roster. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if I get by this week and I get Jefferson and Cook back in my lineup next week, I might stick around for a little bit. But this week I am picking Innis. So gives you my idea of my confidence.
So when I was originally looking at this and I was like, okay, so why would Casey do this trade? And I would be like, I was writing down this thing and I was like, I think Casey's going to lose, but I think there's going to be brighter days ahead. But when I'm looking at it, if you lose this week, you're 1-6. That's a big gamble to take. Like this, we're at a point now where we need to win every game. Right. Then I started thinking, I was like, wow, he might be punting a game at 1-5 right now. Like that seems kind of crazy to me.
I have a new goal, Pete.
What's that?
It's to finish ahead of Lloyd. That's it.
So, Steve, as the most
$100.
preeminent tanker on the podcast, do you think this trade?
Well documented.
Do you think this trade and the impending now roster construction the Case has is qualification for him being the new top tanker of the league? He's surpassed you. He's BP. You're Exxon. I mean,
No, I want to keep that title. I enjoyed that title. I enjoyed that. That tanker title last year allowed me to gather some pieces and turn it around quickly. And obviously, the end of last year, which was well documented, went on a run at the end of last year, just a little short. So no, I'm keeping that title. I don't think Case tanked. You get Jefferson in that deal. I thought that was a good move.
Well, let's hope he can make the playoffs after 1-6, because this game has my lock of the week. Duracell. And this is my lock, everyone.
Wouldn't you want Master Lock?
Kalel, you have 2 locks now. Jesus.
No, I don't.
You pick Pete as your lock.
No, I don't want Pete as my lock. No. No, this is my lock.
You are having a rough
about
2 weeks.
Time out.
You did the same thing last week, and then you said, "No, Pete, you're my lock. Double lock it, double bolt."
Time on. Let me rephrase. Spates is my boom. Spates is the Tuesday night podcast. All right. Spates is booming. It's coming to the pod Tuesday night. I pick myself to upset because I'm a technically lower seed than DeVito, and I pick Innis as my lock. Okay. Whatever I said.
His Duracell lock.
Yeah, I don't think Duracell is the right.
It's a battery, Mike.
Master
You're
lock.
looking for like Master Lock.
Man. Duracell's a battery, isn't it? The Energizer Bunny?
Yes.
That's Energizer.
Duracell and Energizer are 2 different
Copper
battery
top.
companies.
Copper top. Duracell's the copper top.
What's Copper Top? A lock company?
No,
it's
Duracell is the
Duracell
copper
battery.
top.
Oh, guys, it's a joke, guys. It's a joke.
You're hilarious.
All right.
Are you sure?
Yeah, positive. Case,
Real tough.
before we transition into the end of the pod and the recap for what we picked, give us the recap from week 6. I think I had a bad week on picks, if my memory serves me correct. What happened in week 6? Who won the week on our picks? Who won the week on our superlatives? Before we
Wonder
start
where this was.
I forgot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go quickly here because people are gonna get lost in all the names I'm about to rattle off. So last
Wait a
week,
second.
Mike, you had
How? Can't be that hard. I went 1-4, 2-3.
I know. I'm going to read 6 and then do a recap of 7. It's a lot of things shuffling around.
Not getting any younger.
You ready, Mike?
I'm always ready.
Yes, you had your first down week of the year, going 2 and 3 with your picks. So it's the first time
I
you
wish
went
I went 2 and
under
4.
500 with your
I wish
picks.
2
I
and
went
4
2
would
and
have been
4.
awesome.
No wonder we
Yeah,
skipped.
2 and 3. You're still in a good
Mystery
spot. 20 and 10 overall, 67%.
He picked a mystery box.
DeVito continues his slide. That week 1 pick has been one of his better weeks now. He's another back-to-back 2 and 3 week, 18 and 12, 60% of the year. I went 3 and 2 this week to raise it to 16 and 14, so above 500. And Pete was the big winner this week, 4 and 1 to take over the top spot. 1 game ahead of Mike at 21 and 9 and 70% clip.
I don't even remember who I pick.
Hey, Pete,
We all did very
does.
poorly on the
No one
superlatives. We all did very poorly on the superlatives this week. The only thing we secured this week were locks. No one really secured anything else.
Hey, Pete, did your kids, do you guys do carnivals down there?
Yeah.
Talk to me about your carnival period. Like, what do you go to? What do your kids like to do? Like, what's the idea? Is it the same stuff as up here?
What do you
You
mean?
got the zipper?
Yeah, we got rides and
Oh.
stuff. Around here, it's a lot of festivals. You guys get that, like pumpkin stuff,
Oh.
that kind of stuff.
Steve
like a lot of,
likes
like-
to go to pumpkin and apple picking.
We
You
got
going
like a
this
lot of,
weekend,
like,
Steve? Good weather?
farm stuff, that kind of stuff.
Saturday, Case. Don't go
I
Sunday
got
afternoon.
I got a carnival to go to this weekend.
We got carnivals. We got a lot of fairs. I don't know. Maryland's kind of like, I don't know.
Mike, did you hear
Watch
that Sheila's
one of
willing
them.
to
That's
watch Cullen so we can golf?
Yeah, no chance of that.
She seemed really excited about it.
I'm sure she did.
I didn't say anything about watching her own kids, just that she would be willing to watch my kid.
No chance. Good one. All right, Case. I think we had 4 sweeps in DeVito on an island with you as our recap for the week. Is that the right?
4 sweeps. DeVito's lone soldier on me in that last game. Yes.
And then
Lone
what do we
wolf.
have? What do we have superlative wise?
Superlative wise for Mike Kaleli, he has himself as the upset. He's on the Spates train with the boom, and he is on Innis with the lock.
Yep.
Innis with the lock.
Who's eating?
I'm Ron
DeLuca,
Burgundy.
Mm-hmm.
DeLuca had DeVita for the boom, Kaleli for the upset, and himself for the lock. That's back-to-back DeLuca lock picks of himself
Yo.
going into this week. So again, hyper motivated,
Who you
overconfident Pete DeLuca. See,
Darren.
Christian.
Question.
For DeVito has DeLuca as
I
his
need
lock. He has Casey for the upset. He has no boom. I have Kaleli as my boom and my upset, and DeLuca as my lock. DeVito need a boom.
Kaleli.
And we know how Mike does when everyone picks in the boom.
Terribly. All right, everyone. There we go. Week 7 on the horizon. On Tuesday night, I'll do another analysis of where we are in terms of playoff spots after the week. Couple guys in a must-win situation, most specifically, Case must win, Boyd must win, Spates must win, Innis must win. So will those guys actually win? Or will
Great
they
time to
not?
trade your best player.
That's the question. I can't wait to see if Spates loses after he doesn't boom, who he trades McCaffrey to. My money is on you, Pete. I think you're getting McCaffrey.
No, I've burned that bridge. I'm good. CJ, I still like you as a friend. We're just not good trade partners.
All right. What is that noise?
What is that? Who is that? All right.
Rowdy Pipers.
All right. Well,
Sink.
Let it slide. Let it slide. She's a new
Case's
mom.
wife's doing the dishes. That's it. That's it for the night. This is Mike, Pete, for Steve, for Brian. Good luck on week 7, everybody. Bye, Kara.
Go help with the dishes.